Week 14, Ela W, and action. So we just received our packets titled The Regularization Plan for Foreigners, Argumentative Essay Checklist. And when we worked with the Megan Meyer case last trimester and the Lori Drew information, you were receiving a lot of different documents at different times. You'll remember, raise your hand if you remember the time that we received our manila envelopes where you opened it up and it was like a surprise at the first evidence where we solved the case. So we loved that. This time though, in the interest of sort of keeping, because we're going to be attempting a much bigger project this trimester, we have everything that you're going to need to know to write your argumentative essay in this packet. Now, how many paragraphs did you write last trimester? Raise your hand. 2. You did the Megan Meyer and you did the Lori Drew. Very good. This time we're going to write 3 paragraphs, but it's all going to be a part of the same essay. So we're stretching. And how many times have I told you, raise your hand if I've told you, you need to stretch something, stretch an idea, stretch your language, stretch your thought. And that's what we're doing this time. We're taking what could be just 1 paragraph and we're going to stretch it into 3, an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. This will be your first 3-paragraph essay that you write, at least at TEP. And we're going to begin investigating today the information you're going to need to answer the prompt. What's the prompt? Turn to page 3. Now, we've been speaking a lot about Dominican people of Haitian descent. And let's have someone remind us, what does that mean? Exactly, your family originated in Haiti, but now they live in the DR. And this is look, there's so many different levels to this. There are families that just moved to the Dominican Republic from Haiti a year ago because they wanted to find work. There's people also, though, that have their families moved to the Dominican Republic from Haiti 100 years ago. And so their grandparents were the ones that moved to Haiti, and yet still they're facing persecution by the Dominican government. And what is it that is affecting them? What is it that they have to worry about? Like, how could anyone from the DR even suggest that they were not a regular, natural-born Dominican citizen? What is it that would make their lives difficult? Yes? And exactly, and the complexion of their skin is what's going to lead to profiling by the government, and we covered the word profiling, where they're going to be targeted. Who's more likely to get pulled over and have their papers checked? Someone with lighter complexion or darker complexion? Because the police believe that there's a better chance that they're from Haiti if their skin color is darker. So here's the essay prompt, and we'll have someone read. If you would, please go. In what ways have the regularization plan for foreigners in the Dominican Republic treated Dominicans of Haitian descent fairly or unfairly? That's a mouthful. I know, we're going to read this 1,000 times. But first of all, that term, Dominicans of Haitian descent, we talked about that. So this is the group of people that we're talking about. And essentially what we're saying is, what is that law change? You remember we watched the YouTube clip last week where we saw how the Constitution, originally, what did the Constitution say about gaining citizenship? Yes, if you were born in the DR, that meant that you were a Dominican. That meant that you had complete citizenship. And we have that same law here in the United States. But what changed between the years of 2010 and 2013? What changed? Right, now your parents have to be Dominican citizens. It's not enough anymore just to be born in the country. And so what's happening to lots and lots of people who have darker skin complexion, whose families originated from Haiti? They're moving back to the DR, or excuse me, they're moving back to Haiti. Exactly, they're fleeing. Does that make them refugees? And why? So we say yes, that does in many instances make them refugees because they're leaving out of fear that something bad is going to happen to them because they don't have the correct papers. Now, let's say you've been there, you've been in the Dominican Republic for a generation, that your parents are Dominican by birth, you are Dominican by birth. But originally, if you go back a generation or so, 2 generations, then your family comes from Haiti. Well, why is it difficult for even those people, Dominicans of Haitian descent? Because gaining this paperwork that is necessary to meet the obligations of the regularization plan can be very difficult for some people. It's expensive. You have to prove a lot to the courts, to the government. And so we have a system now where tens of thousands of people are being kicked out, being left with no home No home nation, no home state, because of the regularization plan. So what we're trying to do is decide, is that fair or not fair? And I think, like, I'm not really trying to hide how Mr. Morgan thinks on this, but it's never enough to just say that something is unfair, to make that claim. What are we going to need to do in order to support our answer statements? Exactly, we're going to have to use evidence from the text that you're holding in this packet today. And look, I'm not telling you what to think. If you believe deep down that this is fair because it's important that people control immigration and that the government keeps tabs on who's coming in from different places, okay. You have every right in the world to say that this is a fair system, but what am I going to ask from you? That you use evidence to support your answer. So we're going to begin annotating with our first document, our first piece of evidence. We have 3 anchor texts that we're going to be using. One is titled The Dominican Republic and Haiti, Shame. And so we're going to be reading that. That is the Canton and McMullen piece that was published by America's Quarterly. We'll be annotating and trying to find evidence. At the beginning, we'll look for evidence both for fairness and unfairness, okay? But let's begin on page 5. We're going to begin with the reading. We're going to read this a few times, and we're going to look for annotations to support our answers about fairness or unfairness. So 1, Juliana de Gris-Pierre was born in 1984 in the Dominican Republic, daughter of 2 Haitian immigrants working in the sugarcane fields. So she's born in the DR. She was issued a birth certificate recognizing her as a Dominican citizen because she was born in the Dominican Republic. Fernando, pick up. Now, 29 years old, she has never traveled outside of the Dominican Republic. She speaks fluent Spanish, the language of the Dominican Republic, and hardly any Creole, the language of Haiti, /and/track. So, is she a Haitian? She is not. She is from the DR. She speaks Spanish. She is in every way. And she was born to 2 Dominican parents. So, or excuse me, she was born to 2 Haitian immigrants. Glad I'm working this out. And so like, even though she was born in the DR before 2011, she's now going to have to find papers to prove that. So, let's look at paragraph 3, and let's look for fairness or unfairness. On September the 23rd, 2013, and we get backstory here, the Dominican Republic's court decided she was wrongly registered as a Dominican at birth because she had 2 Haitian parents. Before this decision, children born in the Dominican Republic to migrant workers were considered citizens. Now these people are foreigners, /and/track. What did we say the word foreigners means? Or foreigner? Right, that you are from a place far away, or an alien land, that you are not from whatever territory we're discussing. Keep reading. People titled as foreigners can stay in the Dominican Republic with the necessary paperwork, but they do not have basic rights such as voting, participation in government, and freedom of movement. And foreigner status limits their right to health, to Social Security, to work, and the right to education, /and/track. Can we find any evidence of fairness or unfairness in that text? Take 30 seconds to underline any evidence of fairness or unfairness. And in the margins, we want you to write that word, fairness or unfairness. Go. And we're back. And if you underline anything in the following text, they do not have basic rights such as voting, participation in government, and freedom of movement. And foreigner status limits their right to health, to Social Security, to work, and the right to education. Anything in that body goes to what point? Fair or unfair? Raise your hand. Unfair. Because at any point, these are basic human rights. Freedom of movement, what does that mean? Freedom of movement? Yeah, okay, so it doesn't mean just like moving around in one place, but it means that like, look, you have freedom of movement when you move from your apartment to the bodega to pick up a bacon, egg, and cheese in the morning. You have freedom of movement when you hop on a train to go visit your aunt and your uncle in a different part of town. You get to move whenever you want, however you want. What about people living in Haiti people living in the DR of Haitian descent? If they don't have the right paperwork, it's like they're hiding in their own home, is the way that many people are made to feel. Does that sound fair? I agree. We're going to keep reading and looking for annotations.